Hey VC, Tony here. Tony's LPs are us. We're in Studio B where we keep a lot of our Beatles, hint, and we keep a lot of our Bond stuff. Studio E is where we do most of our videos, and we also have the Elvis light for Studio E and the Elvis stand-up who we talk to, once in a while. We're big Beatle fans, big Elvis fans here at LPs are us. But this is an announcement that I think is going to be huge. It was just announced maybe 2 hours ago. One of my very good friends, Peter, who gives me so much inspiration, and one of my main guys I talk to about music since day one. He's the brother I never really had. But what I want to do is get to the point. And he tells me that last night that there was a leak of a Beatle box set. It was on the internet, of a Beatle box set of the U.S. versions of the Beatles albums. As you know, the first maybe 9 or 8 albums were kind of different. The Capitol records were different from the Parlophone records. There were different tracks. There were different track arrangements. Capitol kind of butchered them, and that's why we basically got from the Beatles when they did Yesterday and Today. They originally released it as a butcher cover with the butcher covers, and that was the myth to that is they were trying to send a signal to Capitol that stop butchering our records. We're artists. We put these records together with a certain track list, a certain point of view, a certain concept. But that's another story. So right now we're going to go over this story. If you can see right there, it's 8 records. And I'm going to go over the records. I'm going to show you the original records. Now, these are this box set will consist of 8 Beatle records in mono cut from the original analog tape. Now, this is tremendous because, as you know, to find a clean copy of a Beatle mono record, U.S. pressing, anywhere is definitely expensive and definitely difficult. You may find them, but it's difficult and it's expensive. And this is an opportunity, and I'll go over the prices with you, but this is an opportunity for Beatle fans, new Beatle fans, old Beatle fans, to get the American records in their original mono state. And a lot of these mixes are different from the UK versions. I don't know specifically the differences anymore. I've forgotten more than I had known. I remember less than what I've known as far as Beatles. But I'm a big Beatle collector. So in November, it's available on pre-order now on Amazon, at Beatle Core, at Apple Core, whatever you call it, all over the internet. The box set will include 8 Beatle records, 7 and 1 double, or 6 and 1 double. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 1 double. So 8 records. Box set comes with a slipcase, supposed to have liner notes, and it's all cut analog. I will read you the press release in a minute. What I'm going to do is show you the records that I have, the original records. I have the stereo and monos both in most cases. Now, these records have been reissued previously under Capitol. The original Rainbow Capitals were reissued later on with Purple Capitol, Apple Records, Yellow Capitol, and whatever Capitol other labels out there. So this is not the first time these records have been reissued, but this is the first time I believe they've been issued in mono. And this is with the blessing and the auspices of Paul and George and the estate of John Lennon and George Harrison. So without any more preliminary, I'm going to show you the originals. But I also want to show you something similar, which I remember I had. This was released a few years ago, probably more like 20 years ago, on CD, The Beatles on Capitol. And this has 4 Beatle records on Capitol 64. They are Meet the Beatles, second album, Something New, and Beatles 65. And you can see that there. And these are in the mono and stereo releases. And it's a pretty cool little package, as you can see. But now we're going to have these monos on vinyl. And let me tell you, I don't think it's a limited edition, but who knows if they're not going to be pressing them, forever. So if you're a Beatle fan, check them out. I'll give you the prices. Like I said, they're all over the internet already. It was just announced about 2 hours ago. And I want to again thank Peter, my brother from a different mother. So we're going to go over the original albums, and then you'll know what albums are on it. Again, of course, I read them. So we have the first Beatle record, which started it all. Right here, I Want to Hold Your Hand to Not a Second Time. This is a mono, but you can see it's not a first pressing because it has the gold sticker stamped on the record. And this is an Apple issue. So like I said, I pulled a bunch of them. I have every configuration, but I pulled a bunch of them just to show on this video. So I think it's pretty exciting news. This was marked, this is high fidelity, so this is a mono. And here you have the original inner from 64. And there you have a beautiful rainbow capital. And I always thought that these rainbow capitals sounded great. And as I got older and got more into the vinyl aspect, I kind of thought, and it was later talked about, that because Capitol was so stingy and they put maybe 6 tracks on an album instead of the original 7, which was on the UK version, more wax, it sounded better. So that's the theory. But these Capitol records always sounded good. The stereos are sometimes false stereo imaging, left side heavy on vocals, right side on the rhythm section. You get what I mean. Here's another one, another Meet the Beatles, and this again has the stamp on it. Let's see what's inside. This is an Apple again. Now I know I have a Capitol, but I know I have a purple Capitol, orange Capitol. Now the second one in the list, remember there's 6 and 1 double, is the Beatles' second album. And as you can see from this, again, certified gold. So that is not the original issue, but let's see what it is. Now this has Roll Over Beethoven, Thank You Girl, You Really Got a Hold on Me. A lot of covers on here. Devil in Your Heart, Money, You Can't Do That, Long Tall Sally, and of course She Loves You. So this will be released in mono with the original analog tapes, and this is an Apple pressing. So what we're getting in November are not the first reissues of these records, but I believe the first reissues in mono. Here we have another Beatles second album. Like I said, I didn't preview these. This is a mono. This may be a rainbow capital based on this, and it is a beautiful rainbow capital. Next up is the Beatles' Hard Day's Night, their first movie that wasn't in color, and that's A Hard Day's Night. And this is on UA, so somehow, Paul and his infinite wisdom and money got the UA to throw in with the capitals. And here you have the original. Now, I know there's I believe there's some technical track listings that are kind of in error. I forget what they were, but people out there know the Beatle records. But this is not about typos on the record labels and things like that. So here you have Hard Day's Night, and this is a UA, and there's the UA, beautiful pressing. I'll show you that. And this is on the mono box set. This is actually a mono recording here. And this sounds really good. This has the Beatle tracks and it has the instrumental tracks. Here's another high fidelity, another mono. And it's the same as what I just pulled. And this is a mono, and then the stereo version would be a different number. This is a UA 3366 high fidelity. Great cover by the lads. The next one up, according to the lineup and according to as released, is going to be Something New. And here you have Something New. Great cover, maybe Ed Sullivan, Like I said, I used to know this stuff, but kind of forgot through the years. This is an ad cover on the back. It has some of their previous releases, which we just went over. Beatles, Meet the Beatles, Beatles' second album, and also the Beatles songbook, which was instrumentals by other artists. Now this has I'll Cry Instead, Slow Down, Matchbox. And like I said, these recordings are really good, but the records are maybe 13, 14 minutes, 12 minutes aside. So Capitol took out tracks from the original British releases. And here we have, I'll show you the label. This is a stereo, and this is an Apple. A stereo Apple. So let's see what this one is. This is, oh, I have more Beetle 65 here. Okay, well, that's the next one. I only pulled one something new, so that's an Apple. Like I said, they were issued before, but never issued, I believe, in the U.S. in mono. Here we have Beetle 65, and I have it pulled. It's a Capitol, but an Apple pressing. Here we have Beetle 65 with the gold stamp. This is listed as a mono, and this has the sticker on it for all my friends who worked in Vogel's Records with me. Vogel's Records, this was a C on the big board. C would have a price $6.99. D would have a price $7.99. B would have a price, etc. So that way we didn't need to label each record individually. It was a coded board with lettering, and that's still on there. And that's going to stay on there. That will not come off. This is still in shrink, and that's why we have the sticker from Vogel's. And we'll see what this is. This is another Apple. Wow, 65. Hopefully this is a rainbow. We don't know. And this has ads in the back as well. So they were doing an advertising a little bit. This is a reissue because the Beetle Story is on here and the Beatles' second album. This is a mono, so this may be an original. Let me see, mono. I'm sure this is a Capitol. Really nice, if you could check that. Really good, seems really nice. I have a really proud of my Beatles stuff. And this is a rainbow Capitol, which is super, super nice. Thank you, George. And then we have the early Beatles, which was from Introducing the Beatles. The Introducing the Beatles was the first Beatle record LP that was on VJ Records, was a little African-American owned company that somehow got the rights to the Beatles when Capitol was kind of, dragging their feet. And then later on they woke up. They tried to take the rights from VJ, which only had a limited right to press. VJ went on to press, obviously, bootlegs of their own record. Just going to pull it here, just so you'll see. Right there. And that's a VJ. So this has the songs, or most of the songs, that were on the VJs. Now, the VJs have different listings. The one I just showed you, I believe, is a counterfeit, a bootleg, counterfeit. Not bootleg, but more of a counterfeit. Because like I said, VJ didn't have the rights, but they kept on pressing, and Capitol had the rights. But Capitol didn't come out with the early Beatles until 65. Oh, and these releases are only the Beatles 64 releases and 65 releases. The other releases on Capitol, I assume, are going to be in box set number 2, and that's going to be pretty cool. Because there's also another, there may be another Talking Beatles. I know there was one where the Beatles talked. There may not be a Capitol. I'm not sure, but we'll have the rest of those, like the original Butcher cover yesterday and today. But here you have the Beatles, early Beatles. Now, I don't think this is a Capitol. This is actually a cutout. It has a hole in it. But I think this may be a Capitol, or Apple, rather. Oh, no, it's a Capitol, so pretty cool. So that's the early Beatles, and that has on the tracks that were on introducing the Beatles. So you have Love Me Do, Twist and Shout, Anna, Change, Boys, Taste of Honey, Do You Want to Know a Secret? So 11 of their 64 American hit recordings. And then we have the last record of this set of these mono releases. It's the Beetle Story. Now this, I believe, was not reissued again later on in Capitol's archives, but I wouldn't know. You Beatle people out there would know. And that's a really cool one. I think I only have one copy of this because I never bought it. And then I found it a few years ago at a used shop. And this is a narrative and musical biography of Beatlemania on 2 long-playing records, 2 LPs. And this is a mono record. So this is pretty cool. Here's what you'll find inside: the Beatles' lives in close-up, packed with details, anecdotes, facts you never knew before about them. We all know now. You know, what's their favorite color, what's their shoe size, what's their favorite ice cream flavor, did they like girls with brown hair, did they like girls with blonde hair, etc., etc. But this is the most comprehensive coverage yet on George, John, Paul, and Ringo from the beginning to their fabulous fame today. And we all know it's true, right? This is a gatefold, one of the first Beatle gatefolds, obviously. The first Beatle gatefold. And here you could see some cool pictures, maybe on Ed Sullivan, not really sure. On Stage with the Beatles, Beatles Will Be Beatles, A Hard Day's Night, their first movie, Sneaky Haircuts and More About Paul, The Beatles Look at Life, Victims of Beatlemania, Beatle Medley, Ringo Starr, Liverpool, and All the World. I don't even think I've listened to this since I bought it. So there you have it. Right there. Capitol. And let me see what's here. And here we have the sleeve, original inner, 65 release. And these are in really nice shape. Like I said, I don't think I listened to this for years. But anyway, that's the deal. Coming in November, pre-sales available. I want to again thank Pete for giving me this info, and I want to thank everyone who's watching. All the subscriptions are pouring in, all the likes and comments. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you appreciate my content, and I hope you appreciate these videos, and you subscribe to help us out. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read the press release, just because I may have forgotten certain things. Now here, this is a press release, came out a few hours ago. And I'm going to look down, excuse me, but I'm going to look down a little. This year's Beatle catalog title will showcase the albums that introduced America audiences to the Fab Four. In 1964, U.S. albums in mono will include the new vinyl remasters of 6 albums distributed by Capitol Records within the first year of the British band's arrival in New York City. Uniquely drawn from the first Beatles albums in the UK and other single and EP material. That's true. You were getting some singles that weren't, I think, available on the Beatle records, because the Beatles felt that if they released it on an EP, they weren't going to put it on an album, because in the UK and in England, they didn't expect their fans to buy something twice. But in UA, we expect you to buy it, and we're still buying stuff forever. Other single and EP material. These albums will be pressed on 180-gram vinyl and housed in faithful reproductions of their original jackets and inner sleeves. So we might get some Capitol picture inner sleeves. None of them had custom inner sleeves. With the addition of a 4-panel insert featuring an in-depth essay on each record by historian Bruce Spitzer. Now, if you know Bruce, he wrote the book on the Beatles, the book. While all 6 albums will be available individually, the box set includes a further exclusive, a repressing of that year's double album documentary, The Beetle Story, which I just showed, which includes snippets of interviews, press conferences, and songs with voiceover narration. The box set and individual albums will be available November 22. Now, I don't believe if I read that right, but I believe that the Beatles Story will not be available individually. I think if you want that, they kind of grab you on that. You have to get the box set. These albums were cut for vinyl from the original master tapes using completely analog single path with constant reference to first-generation pressings of the original albums. An official statement reads. So what they've done is they've taken the best sources from original Capitol pressings, Rainbow Capitol pressings, and they listen to them while they cut these, so they compare. So they're going to be. I'm ordering it. Just from reading this, I have to have this. They were made using a Studer A80 master recorder with analog preview and program paths, and a Newman VMS-70 cutting lathe, originally installed in Capitol Studios in '71. This specific all-analog cutting technique allows faithful representation of the full musical range and dynamics present on the original tape. Kevin Reeves has cut the lacquers for the new pressings at East Iris Studios in Nashville. Americana all the way. Incredibly, while the Beatles' early works sparked a groundswell of interest on the UK charts in '63 and windfall for their record company EMI, the staff at EMI's American counterpart, Capitol, weren't initially sure what to make of these four mop-top lads and their modern rock sound. The hesitation may have ultimately helped usher in the British invasion, when American audiences were finally craving music from the group. EMI had made several prior licensing deals with a number of labels, like I said, VJ, Tully, etc. Indeed, in Billboard's infamous April 4, '64 issue, where the group occupied the first 5 spots of the Hot 100 survey, only 2 of these singles were distributed by Capitol, the rest issued by respective labels Tully, Swan, and VJ. VJ, in fact, was the first to make a move on the Beatles, and it prepped an album introducing the Beatles, which I showed counterfeit. So it goes on and on. It talks about this, and here's a little quick video. Video is on YouTube, so we don't want to do a video on YouTube while I'm on YouTube. But that's the gist of it. So thanks again for watching. If you haven't subbed, please do so. And just to give you the price point on these, I believe the box set, which is 8 with the slipcase, is $2.99 plus tax and shipping. Amazon's free shipping. And the individual records are between $25 and $29 a piece, plus taxes, plus shipping. And I don't believe that the Beetle Story will be available individually. Now, this is just my understanding and what I'm thinking about. I'm sure that the rest of these U.S. versions of Beetle records, such as Yesterday and Today, and the different, maybe Revolver, the different cuts, will be available in the box too. And like this CD set, this was volume 1. I believe there's 2 or 3 volumes of this. So there you have it. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you go out and go online and look these up and see what you think. For the money, $25 a disc with a slipcase, with inserts and new information, plus cut with an all analog signal path. You can't go wrong. These are going to sound great, but do we have the time to listen to all this stuff? But I guess if you're a Beatle person, you're going to get these. You're going to get these records just in time for Christmas, right? Okay, so keep rocking, and let me just pull this out to show you again. This is where it all started in the U.S. A little known, I believe it is Chicago VJ. If anyone has the VJ record, the Beatles versus the Four Seasons, a double gatefold with a Four Seasons record on VJ, and this record, you may be able to retire early. So keep rocking. Thanks a lot, Pete. Really, really love you. Thanks for the info. And I hope everyone likes this video and subscribes and watches it a few times. We really need the hours, okay, on YouTube. So there you have it. Keep rocking. This is Stereophonic, but we're getting them all in mono. And, you know, mono had a bad rap in the early days, but a lot of records were recorded by these artists for mono. And I could go into the reasons. There's many reasons. Car stereos were mono. They were worried about placement of speakers in houses. Usually the consoles that we had in those days, the 2 speakers were right there, mono. It was stereo, but still, most of them, the early ones were mono. So there you have it. So keep rocking, and thanks a lot. Keep safe, and we'll see you later. Ciao.